everyone! I'm finally able to put out this brush collection video, so thank you all for being patient with me while I worked on this. So the entirety of my brush collection are in these 3 cases, plus a bag of travel brushes. Some time ago, I asked about how I should present these brushes, and the majority of you said I should go by brush shapes, so I thought I'll be doing that today with a few exceptions here and there. I'll be going over the following groups: rounds, quills, mops, flats, bamboo brushes, special brushes, travel brushes, and at the end I'll give some brush recommendations and show the brushes I'm currently using. I'll also be sharing my story of how I've come to own so many Rosemary brushes. I've never actually publicly shared the story in a video before, so please stay tuned. Alright, let's begin! The first case here houses the majority of my round brushes, quills, and mops. Clearly the left are regular round brushes and on the right are quills and mops. I'm going to go through these by small groupings so that it's more manageable and digestible. Here is my first group of synthetic brushes. The green ones are just cheap ones that I bought locally here in Thailand, and I've had these for years and years. I do still use them, but now mainly when I experiment with gouache. And the top one there is Szmal's synthetic squirrel round brush that doesn't really feel like squirrel at all in my opinion. I've grouped it here because I feel like it's just a larger size of one of these other ones. Still a perfectly good brush, just feels more synthetic. So I use it as a go-to large brush for when I want a round brush for large pieces. Oh, and this is another Szmal round brush called Gold Pearl. It's rather springy and snappy, so I'm putting this in the same group as well. I've actually posted review videos on Szmal brushes before, so I'll link those below if you're interested. Since we're talking about synthetic round brushes, I also have this set of Meeden watercolor brushes. There are flats and a fan brush in this bunch as well, but this also goes into my synthetic round brushes group. I just like keeping the set together for now. I've been really liking the small round brush for swatching dot cards because it doesn't hold too much water, so I feel like I can get better water control with it. I also like that the ferrules are blue, and that's quite fun to look at. And here are some of my limited edition Rosemary brushes. They're synthetic and made with a stiffer bristle, more suitable for oils and acrylics. But for watercolor, I sometimes use them to lift colors or create textures, sort of like an eradicator. I don't think Rosemary sells these anymore, but if you do want something similar, I'll leave a link below to this brand I've seen before. Then, I believe this is also another limited edition Rosemary brush, in honor of the late Richard Schmidt. I can't remember if it's sable or synthetic, but it's just a tiny round brush that I can use for details. These are my genuine sable brushes. From top to bottom, there's Rembrandt's pure sable brush that I do not like at all. It's quite difficult to describe the painting experience, but it's just not pleasurable to paint with. Then Rosemary's Sable Blend, which is a blend of sable and synthetic fibers, and the bottom is Rosemary's Pure Kolinsky Sable Brush. They offer a variety of Kolinsky sable round brushes, but I can highly recommend this one. It's Series 33. Then I have these Fumui sable brushes. They were off to the side for filming a different video, so I forgot to gather them before this. Anyway, like I said in my review video, I quite like that they hold a lot of water and have that spring and snap to them. Moving on, this is my first group of squirrel round brushes. These hold a lot of water. Again, from top to bottom, there are Fumui brushes. Honestly, I've been told these are pure squirrel, but I feel like they're synthetic. That said, they're affordable and they still perform like squirrel, so I've put them in this group. Then Silver Black Velvet brush. I know this has a mix of synthetic in it as well, but again, it holds a lot of water, so it's in this group. For anyone considering getting a Silver Black Velvet brush, I highly recommend. The hype is not just a hype. The price is definitely worth the quality. Then below that are 2 pure squirrel round brushes from Rosemary. If you don't yet have a tiny squirrel brush, I can highly recommend it. They can act like rigger brushes because of how much water they can hold. And now my most used group of all my brushes, my round quill brushes. Before we move on, I'd like to clarify a few things because I know I have a fair few beginners that may be watching this. So a quill brush is any brush that has this type of wire-bound ferrule, as opposed to the regular metal ferrules. Not all quills are mop brushes. When referring to mops, people usually mean the shape. Here's the difference between a round brush and a mop brush. As the name suggests, mop brushes have a higher water holding capacity. Some people use the terms quill brush and mop brush interchangeably, but hopefully I've shown you here today that not all quill brushes are mops, and not all mops have quill ferrules. Now, where were we? Ah yes, my round quill brushes. There's the Synthetic Renaissance Roll Brush, Jackson's Synthetic Sable Icon Quill, Rosemary's Golden Synthetic Brush, Rosemary's Synthetic Kolinsky Red Dot Mop, Raphael Pure Squirrel Mop, and Tintoretto's Synthetic Squirrel Mop. Whatever the name may be, I use all of these brushes quite interchangeably as my go-to round brushes because I just love the look of quill ferrules. All of these hold a decent load of water, more than regular synthetics, and not too juicy like natural hair. The reason I've put Raphael's Pure Squirrel in this group as well is because, well, when you get a mop brush this size, the floppiness isn't as pronounced as large mop brushes. So while this is Pure Squirrel, its small size helps it retain a bit of spring. Oh right, and here's Rosemary's Golden Synthetic Round Brush with a metal ferrule instead of a quill ferrule. I haven't used this yet, but I use the quill one quite a lot, so I know I'll like this one as well. And now, going up in size a bit, I'd consider all of these quill mops. They hold a lot of water, are soft, and have the slightest spring to them. There's Da Vinci's brush in collaboration with Rabi Alieva. I believe it's made of a mix of natural hairs and synthetic fibers. I love it because the handle is turquoise colored, and it's a quill! I've used this a handful of times, but I put the plastic tube back on because, well, you know, it's one of those precious brushes to me that I want to hold on for a very long time. And then 2 Jackson's Raven mop brushes, and Roman Szmal's Pure Squirrel mop brush. Alright, this group of quill brushes, I don't really use them because I just prefer other brushes. There's Pro Art's Sablesque, and Renaissance Mop, Rosemary's Sienna Synthetic Mop, and Seikai's Pure Squirrel Mop Brush. Again, going up in size, these are my larger quill mop brushes. The top 3, Fumui, Rosemary, and Raphael, are all Pure Squirrel, and the bottom 2 are synthetic, Roman Szmal and Borciani Bonazzi. And again, I use all of these for things like loose florals or experimenting on large format. And the last one in this case is this huge Pure Squirrel quill mop brush from Rosemary that I got from my seconds bundle. If you'd like to know more about Rosemary's seconds bundles, check out this video here. Alright, moving on to this second case before we get to the special brushes. Here I have some small flat sable brushes from Rosemary. I quite like these for making textures for brick walls. They're really handy for those. These larger squirrel and sable flat brushes from Fumui. I've reviewed Fumui brushes quite thoroughly in the past, so I'll link to those videos below. They've really become my new go-to brushes because I really feel like I don't need to be precious with them. These are my 2 bamboo brushes. This one is from Rosemary, made with horse, pony, goat, and hog hair, I believe, if I remember correctly. I did try painting with it several times, but I didn't quite like that it was extremely floppy, so it hasn't been used much since. And then this bamboo brush pen thing, I posted a video already here. I don't particularly like mine as a brush anymore because the cavity where the brush tip is kept keeps destroying the shape of the brush, and I fear that it'll ruin the bristles in the long term, so I've just let it be. though I still do like using the bamboo tip for scratching on textures. Then some water brushes. There was a time where I only used water brushes, but then I stopped painting, and when I got back to painting with regular brushes, I just didn't like water brushes anymore after that. Can anyone relate? Okay, alright, let's move on to the third case with the special brushes. Here are my reservoir brushes. Da Vinci calls theirs a liner, and Rosemary's is called extended point. I call them reservoir because they have this belly at the base and an extended point. I mainly use these as I would with regular liner brushes or rigger brushes, which is for expressive organic strokes in loose floral paintings. When I'm not using them though, I do keep them in this plastic tubing because I feel like it's rather long and delicate, so I just like keeping them protected. I wanted to show this Szmal 911 brush right after because although the synthetic hair fibers have different colors, this is not a reservoir brush. This is actually just a regular round brush. And then here are my liner brushes from Sekai, Silver Black Velvet, and Szmal. My favorite has to be the Szmal brush because it actually comes to a very fine point. Moving on, we're getting more fancy now, triangular brushes. Although I tend to think of these more like pyramids. These are both from Rosemary, one is pure squirrel and the other is synthetic. Absolutely wonderful for painting unique shapes like leaves and petals. This next one is also just as special. Rosemary's Rotary Tree Brush. It's like a round brush, but fanned out with a hollow center. It does look fancy and quirky, but after testing it out, I feel like it's not that much different from a fan brush in terms of functionality. But you can definitely get some strokes you can't get with other brushes. Then here are my dagger and sword brushes from Fumui, Rosemary, and Szmal. A lot of people love dagger brushes and swear by it, but personally, I prefer sword brushes. They're much more expressive because there's that increased leverage. I've grouped these three Rosemary brushes together because they're similar in shape, but unique in their own way. There's the comber, filbert, and a cat's tongue. Honestly, I got these just to try what sort of brush strokes I could get, and personally, I feel like they're not very versatile. I could just use a regular round brush, although the comber does come in handy if you're trying to create repeating long line effects, like grass. And then these two are both round sable brushes, but I've put them in this special brushes section to specifically talk about the triangular handles. These are extremely ergonomic and really help ease any wrist pain if you're painting for long periods of time. They're especially great for when I'm painting tiny details for a long time in one sitting, or even multiple sittings. Here's Rosemary's Golden Synthetic Fan Brush that I've never had the need to use. I've just been using the Meeden one instead. And last but not least, my group of large oval and cat's tongue brushes from Rosemary, Silver Black Velvet, and Fumui. I actually really love these. I much prefer these over flat brushes because there's that pointed tip that I can use to get into nooks and crannies if needed. Okay, on to the travel brushes. I'll be honest, I don't use these often at all. I'll whip them out every now and then to play with, but that's pretty much it. You know what? I'm going to go by brand for this category. So, Rosemary&Co probably has the widest range of travel brushes I've ever seen, so if there's any type of brush you want in this retractable pocket brush format, do check out their website. Might I also add, their travel brushes are by far the lightest I've ever experienced. If you're considering getting yourself lots of their travel brushes, I highly recommend waiting for their seconds bundle sale because that's when you get the most bang for your buck. Or so I've seen. Even though this Tintoretto one is of similar size, it feels heavier, but the performance is equally great. And since I only have this one Jackson's travel brush, and it's of similar size to this large rosemary quill. I'll just put it right here as well. I'm currently on a no-buy right now, but I'm rather interested to add one of Jackson's new travel brushes to my collection. Which one do you think I should get once my no-buy is over? And here I have both of Raphael's travel brush sets. I remember I got this bamboo set for a friend and then waited over a year for another sale to get it for myself when it was about 60 to 70% off. It was such a great deal, although I do kind of regret it now a bit. The quill mop brush is absolutely lovely to paint with, but the other brushes are too stiff for me. I feel like they're meant for thicker mediums like gouache maybe, and if I'm not careful, the brushes can slide out of this very easily. I think if they had used elastic bands, this would have been a much better product. I posted a short video on this set already, but in a nutshell, I was rather disappointed that the cap part doesn't have any signage at all. No labeling, no nothing. Yes, I can easily mark them myself, but for the price I paid for these, I just wished they had put some sort of label on it. Like, see, Rosemary's doesn't have it either, but at least they have some sort of labels on this part here, so I don't need to be opening all my brushes to figure out which one is the one that I wanted. Many of you have also said that this set doesn't appeal to you because the two brushes are so tiny, and I agree, they are tiny. But for me, I don't have such tiny brushes in my travel collection, so I happily welcomed them with open arms. And now for Fumui, I think I covered this in a parts review, so I won't go into too much detail. Honestly, I just love it for the price. I'm willing to look past any minor flaws just because you really can't beat the price. So this is the Sable set, and sometime after my video went up, Fumui took the feedback well, and they improved the product. I'm very impressed at how fast they have applied changes. For clarification, this second set that I was sent is their new and improved Squirrel set. I feel like since the brand and I need to use English as the middle language, there can sometimes be miscommunication or confusion, so I'm unsure as to what specifically has been changed, but all I could understand was that the bristles have been improved, and I can see for myself that the labeling on the cap handles have been added. Last but not least, this cheap See My Art travel brush. It was my first ever proper travel brush, and I'm tempted to donate this away, but it also has sentimental value, so I'm holding on to it for now. Before we move on to the next segment, I do want to share a little trick I've discovered after opening and closing these travel brushes so much. So, to avoid any hair bristles from bending back while you're closing, try this twisting method. Here, let me show you with a clear tube. It's a bit difficult for me to explain in words what's happening, but hopefully the visuals can speak for themselves. Now that we've gone through all the brushes, I have a few recommendations for different price points. My recommendation for the budget tier would have to be Fumui. If I had to go back in time and had a certain budget for myself, these are the brushes I would get. They're affordable enough for brushes that feel and perform like natural hair, which is important in watercolor painting. If you wanted to upgrade later on to real Kolinsky sable, the experience won't be that much different, so there wouldn't be too much of a learning curve. They also offer a good variety of brush shapes and sizes. I just checked their website and it looks like they added even more new brushes. For the middle tier, Jackson's is definitely the way to go. From my experience, they are high quality, solid performing products, and customer service is great should you encounter any problems. There are also many brush shapes and hair type to choose from. And for the last fancy high-end tier, I can highly recommend brushes from Rosemary&Co, especially the Series 33 Kolinsky Sable brush. If you've been following me for a while now, you'll know I've been really abusing my Rosemary brushes, and they've held up extremely well. Customer service is equally absolutely amazing. They really go above and beyond to cater to your needs. Over the years, I've had issues come up here and there, and I was pleasantly surprised that Simi, Rosemary's daughter, helped troubleshoot my problems for a couple times. Speaking of Rosemary&Co, the reason I have so many of their brushes is because of a few reasons. 1. I bought one of their seconds bundles a couple years ago. 2. I'm on their affiliate program, so any commission I make I put towards getting more of their brushes to try. And 3. You know their catalog? Well, I translated their catalog from English to Thai, in which I got paid with store credit, which enabled me to order lots of brushes as well. And now to our final segment of the day. This is my fistful of brushes in my current rotation that I absolutely enjoy using these days. The tried and true workhorses, the inspiring experimental brushes, and my current go-to brushes, consisting mainly of Fumui to test for durability and longevity. All right, that is it for today. If you've made it this far, comment below, blissfully baffled by brushes, so that I'll know and others will also know that we made it till the end together. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below and I will do my best to answer each one. As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.